now I'm going to transfer to Charlie, who is going to talk to us about transmission planning in WestConnect. Charlie Reinhold is the planning manager for WestConnect. He has been in this space for a very, very long time and does a terrific job trying to figure out where in the West do we need to build transmission. And part of the reason that we did Brian's presentation was just to reinforce the fact that identifying where you're going to get the resources from helps us inform transmission. So Charlie, we are going to let you take it away.
Thanks, Amanda. I have control. Thanks, folks. Pleasure to be here with you today. As the slides are coming up, I'm going to try to hit a balance today between being overly basic and getting down in the weeds on transmission planning. But I do want to provide kind of a transmission planning overview from a high level of what it is that we do, talk a bit more about WestConnect as a planning region, who's in it, and what our activities are and how you might be able to be involved, and finish up with some indication of some of the projects that we're seeing both within our specific region and around the West. So let me jump right in. I know we're time is of the essence this morning. Just a broad general view here of how electricity is brought to users. We've got a variety of generators that connect to the grid to supply power, and the transmission system that I'm going to talk about planning is, as you see the cursor circling here, the transmission lines of 230, 345, 500 kV, DC lines, whatever it may be. Those then go into a distribution system with increasingly lower voltages before it gets to residential consumers or businesses. Certainly, there's a potential for central station renewables to be at the top end of this process. Distributed renewables can also be located back at the residential end or the business end of this system. And we really don't take that into account other than what that has an impact on the amount of load that is served. So that's kind of the very high level. And planning, in essence, is an identification of what the future infrastructure needs are required to serve the expected load reliably. Transmission providers have federal requirements from NERC to meet certain standards to keep the lights on for everyone. We also need to meet public policy directives. You just heard quite a bit about California public policy. That's a major driver in things that we look at. We also need to look at minimizing cost of providing the services to the end users as well as the environmental impacts. For transmission planning specifically, we're trying to identify 10 or more years out transmission capacity needs given our assumptions of the future set of loads and resources. We're not so concerned about exactly what resources are in the future, but we would certainly need to know where those resources are likely to be located and some broad general characteristics. For instance, a renewable generating resource is different than a thermal resource in how it performs and when it might be impacting the system. So the key inputs are load forecasts and resource plans for the future. Steps in building a transmission line. First of all, you need to identify that need. It may be a policy objective, as Brian has just talked about. It may be that we identify that there are system overloads in areas given certain conditions in the system that need to be rectified. But in some manner, a need is identified. A project is proposed that might resolve that, and then we step through lots of things that have to be done before a project can come online. You need to look at path rating, what the reliability impacts are on the rest of the system. Certainly need to look at siting and go through siting and licensing processes. This last bullet is actually more cost recovery. The owner of that facility certainly has to assure future cash flows to be able to pay for it and keep things in operation. For transmission planning in the West, we've got a tremendous number of organizations. I represent a regional planning organization, as you see in this middle box. We rely on the transmission providers that are members of our organization to do their own 10-year plans. They forecast their needs. That rolls up into our regional planning efforts. We then take a look at whether or not there are regional requirements in addition to the local needs identified by our TPs. We've got tremendous amount of stakeholder input and opportunities throughout this process. And then the Western Electricity Coordinating Council is instrumental in helping coordinate scenario planning as well as collecting data that is very valuable to us. Jim, in the earlier presentation, mentioned the common case transmission assumptions, and I'll touch on that in a while too. But that common case data is of tremendous value to WestConnect in its planning efforts. Transmission planning in the West is also federally regulated. These slides will be available for you once they are posted, but we've had a couple of Federal Energy Regulatory Commission orders that require certain levels of transmission planning. We had some sub-regional planning efforts that have preceded those efforts around the Rocky Mountain West and the Southwest and WestConnect's footprint. Order 890 required a little more finesse in those sub-regional planning efforts. And then Order 1000 requires really a step-level higher regional planning process to study and develop a plan for the entire region. Turning to WestConnect's organization and the transmission planning efforts here, on the left you can see kind of the general broad outline of who WestConnect is, and with the companies involved, the transmission providers involved, also the state and regional focus that we have. There's an indication of our sub-regional plan groups within CCPG as Colorado Coordinated Planning Group, SWAST Area Transmission Planning, and then we have the Sierra Sub-Regional Planning Group. And I indicated in the original slide that we're looking at 230, 345, and 500 kV transmission systems, and these lines outlined on this map are pretty much representative of those voltages. So that's the gross amount of the lines of that nature within our sub-regional planning groups. Our WestConnect regional planning process is a biennial process. We start with taking in, as I mentioned, our 10-year plans from all of our participating transmission providers. We have 17 of those currently, as you saw in the previous slide. We have just completed our study plan for this 2-year cycle, 2016-2017. This is a hot link that you'll be able to get that study plan if you're interested. If you fast forward down to the bottom, we also did an abbreviated 2015 plan for the previous year's cycle. We didn't have a full 2-year cycle in. That is also available. We are currently in our model development efforts. We're taking the data we've got. We've had some scenario requests that we want to study. One thing, tagging on to Brian's presentation on RETI 2 in California, we believe we need to take a look at those impacts outside of California in our WestConnect area And we're going to be working with California ISO to make sure we utilize similar assumptions that they have used in their study efforts in California, and take a look at what some of the trickle-down effects may be in the WestConnect planning region. As we work through this year, we will identify our regional needs towards the end of the year. We will evaluate and select alternatives that are submitted to meet those needs, perform cost allocation if required, and then issue a regional plan towards the end of 2017 and start this process all over again at that point in time. Every group has got a good organization to get it through things. We've got a management committee and some subcommittees that are very involved. All of these meetings are open to stakeholder participation, so if anyone is interested, you can certainly join in. You can contact me to find out how to get involved or look at our website. Again, our membership, we have 24 members at this point. Not listed on here is Los Angeles Department of Water and Power. They've received Board of Water and Power Commissioners and City Council approvals to join. They have not yet executed an agreement, so they don't show up on here. We've got 6 independent transmission developers, and Natural Resource Defense Council are all formal members of WestConnect and participate in our decision making. Again, opportunities for stakeholder participation throughout our process. You can be added to our stakeholder email distribution list. On our website we have a link, or you can click on the button here once you get this slide set. Moving on to some major transmission projects, I'm going to run through our sub-regional planning group areas first. This is a map just to get you oriented of existing transmission. This is by voltage level. The red is 500 kV. Blue, it looks, is 230. Green is 345. We've got some DC lines, one going up into central Utah and into California. What we show for planned projects or proposed projects within our SWAT planning area are listed here. Some of these are transmission owner plans, particularly in the Phoenix area. A lot of transmission entities need to upgrade some facilities, but predominantly we see a lot of projects that are originating in eastern New Mexico, or you see here in the southern Nevada area. These projects in large part are looking at moving renewable resources out of the Wyoming area. Folks are very cognizant of the fact that California is a tremendous market for renewable resources. The READY 2 process and potential upgrade to 50% renewables requirement may open up transmission of resources in. So a lot of these projects are fairly far along. They are not fully committed simply because they will need to finish their commercial arrangements in order to assure that they can recover their costs and have a viable transmission project. The next slide is our Sierra Subregional Planning Group. The major load areas here are the Sacramento area and the Reno area. This group really does not see any new transmission projects being proposed in the area. Again, I think that's likely because the policy requirements are not very clear for them at this point in time. Our Colorado Coordinated Planning Group area, again, here is the base transmission. It's by voltage class. Tremendous amount of transmission along the Front Range. Denver is right here, Colorado Springs, Pueblo area. Not much transmission across the Continental Divide. That is tough corridors to try to develop transmission, and really very limited transmission into the Four Corners area. Some of the projects that they are considering in this area A lot of them are reinforcements to the Front Range area. San Luis Valley is seeing growth and requires some transmission improvements. You also see some new transmission in eastern Colorado, anticipating additional renewable generation from wind resources in those areas moving in. So all three of these areas are kind of the WestConnect scope of what new transmission is being looked at. Going back to the common case transmission assumptions that Jim mentioned early on, these transmission facilities you see on this line are the 23 projects that are assumed to be sufficiently far along and have sufficient commitment to be assumed to be in service in 2026. So that is these projects then are included.
Anyone else there?
They're included in the base transmission cases that all of the regions around the West will be using, and then we'll mix and match varying loads, varying resources, and things to stress individual regions. You can see we've got some Colorado lines that you saw on the CCPG map, and we've got a fair number of the projects that are more transmission owner related, as I mentioned, in the SWAT footprint. And Amanda, with that, that pretty much wraps up a quick tour de force of transmission planning in general and in the WestConnect area. And I'd be happy to address any questions. There's contact information on this slide and here if folks have additional questions following this seminar.
Excellent. Thank you, Charlie.